Welcome back to Beer Nerd 40K. Today we're going to look at 6 things that people forget, they might not understand, or they just haven't really thought about yet with Kill Team. So the new Kill Team is a great game, and it's lots of fun when played correctly. So like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's look at 6 things you need to remember when playing Kill Team. So in Kill Team, you need to remember that only one model can use grenades per phase. Remember though that the word to keep in mind here is phase, not turn. So let's imagine that I charge you. I charge your model in the movement phase. Well, you get to fire Overwatch against me, and you can use grenades one time that phase. And let's imagine now that it's the same turn, and I failed that charge. Well, the movement phase is over now, and now you can fire grenades again normally as part of the shooting phase one time with one model. Whether it succeeds or not doesn't matter. And so basically the thing to keep in mind here is that what this means is that in total, no player can make more than 2 attempts to use grenades in a single turn in Kill Team. Something a lot of new players are forgetting. Another thing that a lot of people are forgetting is that if your weapon profile that you're shooting with has a range that you are now shooting more than 50% of that range's distance, you're now at -1 to hit. So let's see this more simply. Pretend you have a bolter, you're shooting, that gun has a range of 24 inches. Well, anything 12 inches or more away, you now have a -1 to hit. This is something that I forget all the time. A guy will have a weapon profile and I'm sitting there running in with my Gene Stealers. I'm 13 inches away from him, and that weapon is more of it than half of its distance profile. Well, he should be getting a -1 to hit there. I forget about it, and I end up taking needless flesh wounds or model penalties because of that. So don't forget this, because it can make a big difference in your games. The next thing to remember is that the veteran's free move tactic, called the adaptive tactics stratagem or tactic, is made before the initiative phase and does not count against you in the first movement phase. So there's a few things here. Something that comes up quite a bit. If you're running a veteran specialist, there's something called the adaptive tactics tactic. So for one command point, you can make a normal move or advance before you even roll for initiative. This is huge when you're talking about an 8-inch move model Gene Stealer. So I'm moving 8 inches plus D6 2 times by the end of turn 1. And some people want to call shenanigans on that. Well, the fact of the matter is that the GW organizer that's running the campaign where I am playing mostly at this time, 1 more week left of that, is totally 100% on board with this. And the reasoning behind this is, another way to look at this is that the move happened before turn 1, as written in the rule. So the movement doesn't count for the allowed movement in turn 1, because again, the movement happened before the turn began. So just imagine, my Gene Stealer veteran, 8 plus D6, that's a potential 14 inches, and then gets to do that again. So if you have an opponent that's trying to stop you from doing that, that can severely nerf your movement as a Gene Stealer cult player, or anything else that has something that where you're using the veteran tactic or veteran specialist tactic. So next thing we need to talk about is determining if a model is obscured. This is very simple. All you need to do, according to the rulebook, is look at the model from the point of view of the firing model that is making a shooting attack against it. So look at this model. As you look at his target, look at the main body, the legs, the arms, and the head. Is there anything between the shooter and his target covering any part of these? If so, that means the target is considered obscured, and the shooter is now at another -1 to hit, in addition to any other modifiers also affecting the shot, such as the 50% range, which we talked about earlier. Another thing that's very important to keep in mind, because people are forgetting exactly what obscured means, and there's some older edition stuff maybe running around in their heads. There's a conception, oh, he's not 50% obscured, weird little things like that going on, and people's understanding of the rule being different from how it's actually written. So the next thing to think about, to keep in mind, to understand about Kill Team is that there are faction tactics that are not in the rule book. Every Kill Team starter box so far has included several cards containing tactics that the army can use that are not in the Kill Team rulebook. You need to keep this in mind so that A, you're not taken by surprise, and B, you're not missing out on tactics available to the faction that you play. Both of the factions that I play in Kill Team, the Gene Stealer cults and the Tyranids, have had these separate box is released. The Gene Stealer cult came with the main 40K box, or the main Kill Team box, and the Gene Stealers came with the Writhing Shadow box. So every one of these, each one of these special faction-specific boxes contains up to 7 tactics that are not in the rulebook. And some of these are the most powerful ones that I've been using for my Gene Stealers in this Kill Team League. And lastly, one of the most important things to keep in mind to remember always is that Kill Team is not Warhammer 40K. Now, it's still a Warhammer 40K game, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that there are no FAQs, no errata, anything like that. I think the only issue that Kill Team really has right now is the assumption factor that comes from being a sister game to 40K. People have been playing 40K for years. They have an understanding of the game, but this is causing problems in Kill Team, especially in situations like this competition that I'm playing in that encourages rules lawyering because there's something to be won. But Kill Team is not 40K. Again, this seems simple, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean every FAQ, every errata, anything you are used to in 40K, even rules that have the same name. Things are potentially different here. People need to understand that the rules of Kill Team are from the Kill Team rulebook, not their assumption borrowed from playing 8th edition. The fact is that Kill Team is its very own bespoke game system. It has a lot in common with regular 40K, of course, but the rules concepts are their own entities, and even if a word or concept might be similar between the two, you still need to check, you still need to understand, and a lot of times you need to be able to stand up for yourself, if needed, when something doesn't seem right. So last week, I played an Astra Militarum player in the GW Kill Team League competition for week 2. It was my first time playing this guy, and I only had one issue in the game. The fact is that I use the Predatory Leap tactic for my Gene Stealers almost every turn. These are the Tyranid Gene Stealers. When I bought the Writhing Shadow box, there were more tactics inside that box than what's in the rulebook. And every turn, my opponent would call shenanigans on me, saying the way that I made my charge move was illegal. I would say no. Remember, Predatory Leap means he has Fly on the charge for 1 command point. He would then say, well, Fly doesn't work like that. It's been FAQ'd and errated a bunch of times. And so he insisted that I would need to add diagonal measurements to the movement to reach his guy up on a tower. So what's the issue here? Who was right at the end of the day? Well, that's simple. Again, like I said earlier, there are no FAQs for Kill Team. None. And until the Rogue Trader thing comes out next month, everything pretty much is in that rulebook except a few tactics and stratagems. So there are FAQs for regular 40K, but not Kill Team. And what happened in the game was my opponent was bringing his assumptions and understanding of how things are in a different game system and mistakenly applying that to me in a game called Kill Team. So let's look at the rule in the Kill Team rulebook, page 21. So it says, if the datasheet for a model says it can fly, it can move across models and terrain other than impassable terrain, as if it were not there, though it must end its movement on a surface it can stand on, other than another model or a model's base. Do not measure vertical distance when moving a model that can fly. So that's the problem with telling me that my guys had to move diagonally. So his insistence that I measure diagonally to reach his guy up on the big old tower directly conflicts with page 21 of the Kill Team rulebook. Does fly work that way in regular 40K? Well, that doesn't matter, because whether they're right or wrong about that or any interpretations of 40K rules is irrelevant, because Kill Team is its own game. In fact, it's a great game, and like I said, so far this is the only issue I have had, so hopefully this short video reminds you to double check, because the game is still very new. So for now, continue to ask yourselves, am I running the rules as written for Kill Team, or did I see a keyword that both games have and assume they were the same? Are your opponents playing accurately? The fact is that the rulebook has all the factions and rules contained within it for now. So if something doesn't seem right, just check really quick. That's all it takes. These little things make a huge difference in the game, and your army shouldn't be nerfed because someone else is misunderstanding something. So that's 6 things people are forgetting to remember in games of Kill Team. Let me know what you and your opponents are accidentally leaving out, or even if there are things that you're house ruling for perhaps a better experience with the rules. Remember to like and subscribe to the cult here on BeerNerd40K, and I'll talk to you again next time.